Oh. गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. We are in Pancadasi chapter 14, Brahmanande Vidyanandaha, and here we saw last week the teacher put in front of us that the four kinds of bliss of knowledge are declared to be, and what are these bliss of knowledge, where the bliss is an experience because of something. That is the bliss of knowledge. Knowledge is of something, isn't it? You don't need to have knowledge of yourself. You know right now you are. So whenever we say knowledge, it is about something. So here, bliss of knowledge, by knowing something, by gaining something. So what are the different reasons? First was absence of misery was the cause of bliss. Second was kamaptihi, meaning satisfaction of desires or desire satisfaction is the cause of bliss, and this you can experience in your life. Then the third one is aham krutakritya iti asau, I have done whatever has to be done, and that gives you a sense of fulfillment. And the last one is aham prapta prapyaha, that whatever was to be gained by me has been gained, and he becomes again content and happy and blissful. So these are the four ways. And now, one by one, all these four will be taken. And for the first one, the verse taken was Atmanam ched vijaniyad aham asmiti purushah kimichan kasya kamaya shariram anusanjvaret. And here it was told, when this is from this verse, that when a person, that is jiva, that is an individual, comes to know the real self to be his essential nature, atmanam ched vijaniyad, having come to know his essential nature, aham asmiti purushaha, if a person comes to know that, kimichan kasya kamaya, then what will he desire and for whom will he desire anything? Both. Kim icchan kasya kamaya. Kim icchan, then will there be any desire left for him once he has come to know himself? No. And will there any individuality be left behind for whom he will want a desire to be fulfilled? No. So both ways. Kim icchan kasya kamaya. Shariram anu sanjvaret, and such a person doesn't get worked up on account of anything in this life, meaning everything that one is wanting, desiring from the world is only for this body satisfaction, gross body satisfaction. You're sitting on a chair for body satisfaction. He's sitting on the floor for body satisfaction. You're wearing clothes for body satisfaction. You eat food for body satisfaction. You make money for body satisfaction. Everything that we do in this life is only for body, at the gross body. Gross world is for the gross body. It is not for anything else. So if you are still stuck in this world, desiring something from this world, running away from something in this world, understand you are at the body level. And having said this, and here understand, Shariram Anusanjvaret, this is one, that as long as we are at the worldly level, we are at the gross body level. But our body is not Shariram, it has been told, isn't it? The Sharir is not only the gross body, it is also the subtle body, it is also the causal body. Then what is the our interaction with the gross world or the subtle world, with the dreams, with imaginations, with fantasies, aspirations, hopes? What are they for? They give us mental satisfaction, isn't it? Body does not say, I want this. Mind says. Where are the desires? In the mind. Mind says, if I get this, then I will be satisfied. And in this way, when one transcends the three gunas, he is no more affected by their presence or absence. For whose sake will he get involved in this, in the upadhi? That is the conditionings and that is why there is total absence of dukkha in him as a result of interaction in the world. For whose sake? Just like when we go to deep sleep, we discard the whole world. The world keeps dropping us as we go into sleep, but in other words, you are not aware of, alert about, interested in, desiring anything in this world for the hours that you have gone to sleep, isn't it? And where do you get the maximum bliss? Not in the waking, not in the dream, but in the sleep. And what was that state? Where you are absolutely aloof from the world. If we can bring such a state about consciously, or not bring such a state about, but if we can meditate, contemplate on such thoughts, that this state falls upon us, it happens to us, where the world drops us, and in our mind there is no interest to procure, to validate, to aspire for, to hope for, to expect anything in this world. Wouldn't it be wonderful? Because that's what we are doing every night, and that's where we feel the maximum bliss. The two aspects of Atma are explained. Now from here we have to start today, from the 6th verse. Jivatma Paramatma Cheti, Jivatma Paramatma Cheti, Atma Dvividha Iritaha, Atma Dvividha Iritaha, Chittadatmyat Tribhirdehaihi, Chittadatmyat Tribhirdehaihi, Jivasan Bhoktrutam Vrajet, Jivasan Bhoktrutam Vrajet. The self is described in two ways: the individual self called Jiva and the supreme self. The consciousness reducing to Jivahood due to its identification with the three bodies attains a status of an experiencer. So that we become clear. What is the topic here? Vidyananda. And here they began with the topic of bliss. Because Brahmanand we are looking at, no? So, In the previous chapter, world is an illusion, that was told. In this chapter, what do you call, that the bliss caused by knowledge is also ephemeral in its nature. Hmm? And towards that we are moving. So here the verse says, the teacher says, Jivatma Parmatma Cha iti Atma Dvividha Iritaha. The Atma is described in two ways, and Atma means what? Self. Atma is the pure consciousness. How is it described? As Jivatma, individual self, or as Paramatma, the infinite self. Just like a wave can be, the water in the wave can be described in two ways. One is the wave, the individual wave, the name has changed, and the other is the total ocean, the infinite ocean, because the water is the same. Where is the, if the entity, if there is an entity, if the water accepts the conditioning of beginning and end, then it is called a wave. Similarly, Paramatma accepting the conditioning of this body, gross body, subtle body, causal body, it is called, he falls down from his, as if, that word as if is very important. And he becomes the Jivatma. So that in this vein the whole thought is taken. Chit tadatmyat tribhi dehai jivah san. Chit tadatmyat identification. So consciousness undergoes or falls due to identification with the three bodies. Tribhi. One who is conditioned by the upadhis means conditioning, of the three bodies is referred to as jiva. So, what are we considering ourselves? To be the body. What are we considering ourselves? To be the breathing person. What are we considering ourselves? To be the thinking person. What are we thinking ourselves? To be the feeling person. So what are the three bodies? Gross body, subtle body, causal body. Gross body means this physical body. Subtle body means breath and mind and intellect. These three put together is the subtle body, and the causal body is the Anandamaya Kosh or the deep sleep state. So when we are identified with the gross body, the waking world begins. When we are identified with the subtle body, the dream world begins. When we are identified with the causal body, deep sleep begins. See? Recognize this about yourself. Nothing new is being told. This is your experience. Bhoktrutam vrajet, and it acquires the status of an enjoyer or sufferer. Paramatma neither enjoys nor does he suffer. So who is Paramatma? Paramatma is he who is independent, who is transcendental, who is expressing through all the bodies but not attached to or identified with any bodies. It is supporting all the bodies, but it is not identified with anyone. Why? Just like water supports all the waves, but it is not identified with any wave. Ask the water, are there any wave? Water will say, I don't, what is that? I don't know what is a wave. Because from his vision, there is nothing called wave. Similarly, from Paramatma's vision, from the absolute standpoint, there is no division, there is no duality, there is no conditioning, there is no limitation, there are no three bodies. He is independent, absolutely content in himself as himself. Exactly on the other hand, the jiva who is it is that consciousness which is identified with the three bodies, it suffers, it enjoys, goes through the shadurmis, comfort, discomfort, conditioning of the body, hunger and thirst, conditioning of the breath, likes and dislikes, conditioning of the mind, which leads to joys and sorrows, and uh, honor and insult, praise and insult, the conditioning of the intellect. See? And this way it suffers, because you cannot have continuously, you can never have a comfortable body, healthy body. Even if you are sitting there, if you have to sit for 2 3 hours, your body will start aching, even though the sofa is comfortable, isn't it? How much can we eat and drink? We satisfied, we drank the coffee in the morning or had a glass of water, but you overdrink. You can't keep drinking because you'll start vomiting after some time. And on other hand, you do get hungry again after some time. 3 4 times a day you drink water. So there's no end to this. The suffering. Suffering is on account of identification with these bodies. Because we get identified with gross body, there is movement, there is doing involved. Because we get identified with the subtle body, whether it is breath, we become hungry and thirsty. Hunger and thirst is okay, it's a phenomena. But then we feel propelled from inside to move and satiate that hunger, satisfy that hunger. To satisfy that hunger, then we have to perform activity. And while performing that activity, we get caught up in I don't like this, I don't like that. And similarly with all other cases, koshas. The moment even a smallest trace of importance is given to the experiences of in the world, good or bad, Jivatma Bhav is manifesting. Very, very important. If you give validity to any experience in this world, and what experience? You work it out. The more we give validity to the worldly experience, till then Jiva Bhav is strong. For last few days, this thought is coming again and again, and that is our first sadhana. The reason we have we have studied the scriptures for a long time. Pancadasi, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, goes on and on and on and on. Then why is it not gelling? Some people must be feeling that way. That I understand everything, but it's not clicking. Why it is not clicking? Because we have not performed the first step. What is the first step? According to yoga or anywhere, yama. Live such a lifestyle that you do not get disturbed by thought, word and deed of the world, of the people in the world, nor disturb the world with your thought, word and deed. Until and unless this purification of ourselves does not happen, the meaning or the what the scriptures are indicating, it will not click. Intellectually everything is fine, but that feeling of emptiness, that feeling of that I'm just there, but it is not, it is just because, the only reason is because we have given validity to this world. Until unless this does not sort itself out, till then things will not move.
The previous chapter talking about we should not take life very seriously. Another thing,
True.
that this is also more or
Same
less the
thing.
same thing.
Same thing. See, we watch the TV. Huh? When we watch the TV, what do you watch? Right now, you look at the TV, you are watching the screen of the TV. But when the TV comes on, what do you watch? Huh? You are not watching the TV. You are watching what is appearing on the screen. But you are not watching the screen, isn't it? Exactly the same way. This whole world, past, present, future, gross world, subtle world, causal world, identification, bodies, hunger, thirst, relationships, all the names and forms in this world, all of them are on the surface of consciousness. Just like that entire world is on the surface of the TV screen. Can you look at the movie, you feel sad, you feel happy, you listen to the joke, you look at when it is that screen is showing the cosmos and the galactic travel, you are in wonderment, but you have not been there. It's all unreal, it's only the screen. You see the depth, you feel the emotions that are going on there in the various people. You can see the wars going on, looking at all that which you have not experienced. It is just appearing on the screen of the TV. See how much turmoil and joy you go through, the emotional roller coaster. True or not? But it is not real. So also, this entire world of waking, dream and deep sleep, the entire world of names and forms is only appearing on the screen of consciousness. Just like the waves are appearing only on the surface of the waters, just like that painting is appearing only on the surface of the canvas, the entire world is appearing only on the surface of consciousness. And therefore, the scriptures and the masters are beckoning us again and again. Don't take it too seriously. Don't take it too seriously. Because the reason you are taking it seriously is because you've got an axe to grind in this world. You want some name, you want some fame, you want some importance, you want to be listened to, you are into self pity, you have some complex, you are attracting attention of other people, attention seeking, whatever it could be the reason. So many different reasons are there. As long as you think about the world, which is nothing but names and forms, this will be your lot. You will go through this roller coaster. But we have to recognize that all this is just an appearance. First, we have to recognize it as an appearance and come to the Atmic principle that we are. The moment even a smallest trace of importance is given to the experiences in the world, good or bad, Jivatma Bhav is manifesting. Jivatma Bhav, so, the feeling of individuality manifests. The moment we start labeling the world good, bad, I like this, I don't like this is mine, that is not mine. This is one aspect of the Paramatma which appears to acquire the enjoyer aspect and becomes Jivatma. So, just like it is one aspect of the total waters which identifies with the beginning and end and becomes a wave. We are looking from outside, not from water standpoint. So, same way, this Paramatma, this infinite reality, the pure consciousness, it has got identified with gross body, subtle body, causal body, and as if taken the position of Jivatma, conditioned consciousness. Electricity is infinite. This is conditioned, electricity getting conditioned by the bulb and the filament starts expressing as individual light. Light may be a principle, but here it is individual. Can you get light without a conditioning of the bulb and the freon gas or whatever the gas is inside and the filament? Can we get it? No. Is light electricity? No. Is electricity light? Yes and no. Can electricity be without light? Yes. Can light be without electricity? No. Same way, pure consciousness and individual consciousness. Pure consciousness or infinite consciousness is independent, transcendental. It is in spite of all the conditionings and limitations. Whereas individual consciousness is a product of identification. It has got identified. It has a beginning. The individual consciousness feels it has a beginning and an end.
Maybe the enjoyer is, we call it our mind is enjoying.
Correct?
It is, you say, mind is a reflected consciousness is enjoying. How you see Jivatma is enjoyer.
It will come now. We will explain that. So, Paramatma, which appears to acquire the enjoyer aspect and becomes Jivatma. See, for being an enjoyer, there must be something to be enjoyed. Right? Can you become an enjoyer without anything to enjoy? If I am enjoying a sweet meat, without a sweet meat, can I have the enjoyment? Yes, you can. In your dream, you can imagine a sweet meat and still enjoy. But you'll have to think of something, isn't it? Some name, some form. So object can be gross or subtle. See? So here the Paramatma has become Jivatma, and this Jivatma becomes the enjoyer. Because the moment Jivatma gets identified with gross body, subtle body, causal body, at that very moment the world appears for him. Go backwards. You disidentify from the gross body, subtle body, causal body, the world will vanish. How can you be so sure, sir? Every night you go through that. When you are sleeping, are you aware of your gross body? No. Are you aware of your mind? No. Are you thinking in the sleep while sleeping? No. You're dead to the world. So it is your experience. Only thing is, we have to bring about that disposition in the waking state. Consciously we have to do it. Which verse we are on? Now the other aspect of the enjoyed is explained. Paratma Satchidanandaha Paratma Satchidanandaha Tadatmyam Nama Rupayoho Tadatmyam Nama Rupayoho Gatva Bhogyatvamapannaha Gatva Bhogyatvamapannaha Tadviveke tu no bhayam Tadviveke tu no bhayam. The Supreme Self, whose nature is of blissful conscious existence, has become an object of experience on account of its non-differentiation with the names and forms. However, when it is discriminated from the three bodies and also the names and forms, neither of them, that is the enjoyer or enjoyed, ever exists. From the water's point of view, Are there waves? No. The water, as if falls down, the infinite water falls down and becomes a individual wave, taking on the conditioning of the form of the wave. Actually, it is water only, but it has got identified and it has become a wave. Now, is that individual aware of other waves? Yes. The moment water takes on the conditioning, that very moment the world of waves appears to that individual wave, isn't it? But the moment that wave realizes that I am the water and dissolves in contemplating on that infinite waters, the individuality gets dissolved, meaning it has got no value for the conditionings. All the waves vanish. In one go, they will vanish. Just like the whole world of names and form vanishes the moment you go to sleep. This is meditation. Contemplate in this manner. This is meditation. So this supreme self, this infinite reality, this pure consciousness which was infinite in nature, it was abiding in itself as itself, right? Now in this particular, it has taken on the conditionings, and now what is it considering itself? It is experiencing itself. I am this body, I am this thinking person, I have these aspirations, I have this ambition. I have to leave a mark behind before I die. I have to do charity in the world. I have to help the whole world. It's good, do it, but don't get lost in it. So here, teacher says, Satchidananda Paratma Nama Rupayoho Tadatmyam Gatva. The same Paramatma of pure self or pure self, which is of the nature of Satchitananda, gets identified with the names and forms, and thus Bhogyatvam Apannaha attains the status of object of enjoyment. Pure self remains the same with no differentiation like consciousness or enjoyer and inertness or enjoyed. The two together constitute experience. This fellow needs this to enjoy. He can call himself an enjoyer. Why is he an enjoyer? Because this fellow, the I, the individual, has taken the conditioning of gross body, subtle body, causal body. And having identified with these, now this fellow, who is essentially infinite, but now because on account of this identification, he considers himself to be the gross body, he considers himself to be the subtle thinking person, feeling person, and he considers himself to be the causal person, or waker, dreamer, deep sleeper. So he's carved out a identity for himself within that infinity. See? A wave has carved out an individual identity in the infinite waters, isn't it? This is what the individual has done. He has carved out an identity. From Paramatma's point of view, so take example of water. From the infinite water's point of view, if it had to think, it can't, but if it had to, the vision, it is the individual. And it is all the names and forms, meaning all the waves, isn't it? So he's the enjoyer also and the enjoyed also. See? So they're not two. At an individual level, there is duality. I feel that I am other than you. From Paramatma's point of view, everything is self alone, and that is revealed, or that is it is without a thought. No thought required. Just like you don't need a thought about yourself, imagine with regards to the infinite. When the pure self gets identified with the knowing aspect, that is consciousness, predominantly, it becomes an enjoyer. See, electricity, here this example is not valid, but let's get the idea. Electricity and the bulb and the filament. Electricity is the pure consciousness, the bulb and the filament is the gross matter. Is the gross matter existing? Yes. Gross matter as if getting attached to the what you call the consciousness. Now remember, what is reality? Sat Chit Anand. It is existence, consciousness and bliss. So existence is appearing as names and forms. Right? So this is a name and form. Is this body a form? Yes. Does it have a name? Yes. Is this camera a form? Yes. Does it have a name? Yes. It is inert. So the moment this consciousness which is expressing through this inert matter, through this existing matter. So I exist is the first thing in our knowledge. Everything is existing. I shouldn't say use the word in our knowledge, otherwise it will not be correct analysis. Everything is existing. But when we become conscious of our existence, that very moment the bliss appears. When existence becomes conscious of its existence, can inert matter come to know itself? Can inert matter come to know itself? No. Does consciousness need to know itself? No, it is self-knowing. Yet, that consciousness, when expressing through the conditionings, it is existing. This phenomena is existing. See? When this person, this individual becomes conscious that I am existing, at that very moment bliss appears. When the same self gets identified with names and forms, the consciousness aspect becomes secondary and it becomes the enjoyed, that is the object of enjoyment. So first it was becoming conscious, second part is becoming identified with the name and form. First was becoming conscious that the forms are existent, the existence is there. But now you're getting identified. And the moment you get identified, the verse says, you become the enjoyer, it becomes the object that you got identified with, it has become the enjoyed. So right now here so many things are there. What are you identified with? Which is giving you joy? Maybe the position that you are in, the sofa that you are in, the speech that you are listening to, or in your mind that I'm going to do this after the class, etc. Or the temperature in the in the room. Something. Fire expresses as heat when applied to water, and heat as well as light when applied to metal or wood. The type of expression depends upon the conditioning. So, what is the example here? Fire expresses as heat when applied to water, and water and heat and to water, and heat as well as light when applied to metal or wood. See? So when you apply the fire to the water, you don't get any light. Instead, what do you get? You get steam. It blurs your vision. But when applied to metal or wood, what do you get? You get fire, you get light, you get effulgence, isn't it? So then same thing, when consciousness applied to the gross body, consciousness applied to the subtle body, consciousness applied to the causal body, consciousness applied or identified with some name and form out there, what each the expression of fire depends upon the conditioning, right? It doesn't depend upon the fire. What it is getting identified with, that object determines the expression of fire through it. Water, when fire gets identified with water, you get steam. But when fire gets identified with metal, you get sparks. With wood, you get fire. Similarly, when consciousness gets identified with gross body, what is the quality of gross body? What are the properties of the gross body? What is the conditioning of the gross body? Is it young, old, youthful, diseased? Same way, when the consciousness gets identified with the subtle body, what type of emotions are there, what type of thoughts are there, what type of convictions are there, those are the conditionings, those are the limitations. And that will determine what this individual expresses as. No choice in that manner, in that expression. Our choice is what type of thoughts we cultivate. But that expression which we have practiced so many times in certain situations, by default it comes out. So here, the type of expression depends on the conditioning. So husband and wife, the husband is conditioned by the wife. The individual calls himself the husband on account of the name and form called wife. Then what type of what response comes out of the husband? How he has trained himself? Depends how that other person is. Yes, we have the choice. If you are in front of the mirror, quality of the mirror will determine what is the reflection like, isn't it? Right or not? That is the conditioning. The mirror is the conditioning. So if the mirror is hazy, you will not be able to see your complete face. If the mirror has spots on it, you will see a spotted face. You will not see as it is. So as long as we are here, you cannot remove the conditioning. Remember one thing, you cannot remove the conditioning, but what you can do is dissolve the identification with the conditioning. This is what we can do in life as an individual. But we cannot remove the conditioning because we didn't create it. Body we didn't create. The world we didn't create. At this level of talking, huh? At an absolute level, everything came out of us, yes. When we came, body was already there. I didn't say, okay, now, do you remember? No. So, what is the quality of that conditioning? It's there. What can you do about it? You don't know who you're going to come across next. Are we going to go through this whole life reacting, angry, frustrated, agitated, joyful, ecstatic, in wonderment, continuously flipping from one emotion to the other? All that is because we are identified with the conditioning. And what is the requirement here? And as long as there is identification, then you will become the enjoyer of that which is that you have identified with. If you like it, that is the identification, then you want it again. If you dislike it, then your joy is in not associating or identifying with it again. In the same way, the Paramatma or truth is only Satchitananda. The Chit or consciousness or knowledge is manifested in the Antahkarana, in the subtle body at the level of thought. Then it gets identified with the Chitta and becomes the enjoyer. This is called Jivatma Bhav. Meaning what? This is the conditioning. Remember what did we? Now look at these fingers in a different way. First we told you gross body, subtle body, causal body. Now we tell you in a different way. Gross body, vital air body, mental body, intellectual body. Yeah. Now, when this pure consciousness, as if expressing through these conditionings, it expresses as I thought in the intellect, and this fellow I, which we all call ourselves, it gets identified with the others. The moment it gets identified with the others, he becomes the enjoyer, he becomes the experiencer, he becomes the knower. So this is consciousness. So here what how Swamiji is saying, the chit or consciousness or knowledge is manifested in the antahkarana, in the subtle body at the level of thought. Then it gets identified with the chitta and becomes the enjoyer. Imagine you are having a fantasy in your mind and you are enjoying that fantasy. Imagine in your mind you are seeing the beautiful rolling hills and mountains of Switzerland and you are enjoying yourself. It's so nice. Imagine you are sitting in your house and you are thinking of a beautiful fragrant rose and enjoying that fragrance. Similarly, this fellow, this I, he gets identified with the mind. Understand this gross body and the subtle body and the breath body, they are both in this mental body. Each one is the cause of the next. Gross body is because there is breath. Breath is because there is mind. Mind is because there is I. And what do we do? Which we have seen before in previous chapters. You have to cut the identification, cut the umbilical cord. Then what is this fellow called? When he is not identified with these, he is called the witness. Then this I is remaining the same. Whether it is Gaunatma, it is still the I. Whether it is Mithyatma, it is still the I. Whether it is Mukhyatma, it is still the I. So whether it is identified with this, you still call yourself I. Whether you are a witness, you still the I. I you won't feel your absence. So when we separate ourselves from this, it is still at a mental level. What we are doing is we are separating the enjoyer from the enjoyed, the knower from the known, the seer from the seen. And then, what is the next stage once this happens? Here, I don't know how it is unfolding there, but I'll complete this thought so we don't remain in limbo. Once this is separated, then who are you? Are you this fellow or are you the Paramatma? Essentially, you are the Paramatma. But now, first stage was you are identified. Second stage is you are recognized. You are the witness. And when this witness becomes aware of its essential nature, meaning it makes a U-turn, rather than looking at these fellows, he searches for his own source. He searches for his own source. And in that search he realizes, why am I foolish that I am searching? I know the I thought is, I know the that thought is, I know sometimes this fellow gets identified with these three, and he is able, just like yesterday waker, dreamer, deep sleeper came and went, isn't it? But right now if I ask you, who is that person who is other than the waker from yesterday, who experienced the waker yesterday, who knows that he is not the waker, he knows that he is not the dreamer, he knows that he is other than the sleeper. Why are we not able to experience him right now? Because too much importance giving to the names and forms, too much identification. So if we take one step back a little bit, then we will notice that this fellow, this I thought and that thought, what it is enjoying, the enjoyer and the enjoyed, both is not me. See where we get caught? I know, I am aware, but aware of what? You are aware that you are identified or now you are disidentified. And that is giving you the joy that I got disidentified. That is also not enough. We have to come to this fellow. And the recognition there is that the seer as well as the seen are both imaginations, illusions. The knower and the known both are illusions or imaginations. Then what is the truth? The one who is unaffected by these knower and known, seer and seen, experiencer and experienced, the I thought and the that thought. If you are in the mind as a thought, even if it is I, you are still identified. In the mind, you are conditioned by the mind. We have to get out of the mind and recognize that I am the one who is supporting the mind, and this mind is appearing. Now I am taking the mind as this total put together. This mind, I am the supporter of this mind, and this mind expresses as the enjoyer and the enjoyed, the waker and the waking world, the dreamer and the dream world, the sleeper and the sleep world. And in the waking world, it keeps taking the various roles based upon what it is identified with. In the dream also it does the same. But then who am I? I am the one who is supporting all this. They are all my vibhutis. They are all my expressions. But I am independent of all this. Then are you watching that? We are putting these words so that we can understand. Once you are there, all this will not be required because water does not say anything like this. But we are saying if water could speak, it will speak in this manner. That I am supporting all the waves, but I am much more than the waves, unidentified with the waves. Similarly, who is this me, the real me, the the pure consciousness that I am? It is supporting all the manifestations. It is supporting all the bodies, gross, subtle, and causal, but itself independent and unconditioned by any body.
So the witness is neither Jivatma nor Paramatma.
Jivatma, having dropped all the identification with the conditionings, is the witness. Is the witness. But it is still at the mental level. Witness does not mean you have come to the Atma. But you are very clear that I am not that which comes and goes. Now he has to realize that this I, because nobody feels that the I comes and goes, isn't it? Yesterday you saw a waker, dreamer, deep sleeper come and go, but you don't feel that you have come and gone. Feeling is the feeling of continuity is always there.
Yeah.
So even that I, when the witness comes, he is thinking of himself as a thought. I am separate to all this. But that even that thought aspect of the witness, which is independent of all other thoughts, not identified with anything, that also needs to be dropped. But that you cannot drop it. Every stage happens by His grace, not because of our doing. Because mind will not allow it to happen. You can force it through pranayam and forced concentration, but then that is very unhealthy. There will be repercussions if you do that. The same Paramatma expresses as existence in the gross world of matter. Without existence, there can be no perception. Alright? So, from water's point of view, the whole world of waves is nothing but water. It is existing. Similarly, from Paramatma's point of view, the entire world of names and forms is nothing but Paramatma alone. If the screen of the TV was Paramatma, all the names and forms that are appearing, will it be wrong if the screen says, I am everything? Time, space, objectivity, names, forms, everything I am. It is existence. And here it says that without existence there can be no perception. If something does not exist, you cannot imagine. Something must be existing in order for you to have a thought of it. Oh, ghost does not exist, but I have got a thought of ghost. Come, I'll show you. You cannot have a thought of something that which is not. It must be existing. Sir, when I am sitting in my meditation, the mind becomes zero. There are no thoughts in my mind. There is nothing. Oh, nothing exists. Space exists. Void exists. That is why you are able to say that there is nothing. There is nothing. There is void. So we are given validity to absence also as isness. So something is and nothing also is. Isness is the existence. So the same truth becomes the perceived or enjoyed. So remember, the water became all the waves as existence. Then the same water is expressing as if expressing as the individuality. And that individuality then is getting identified with the wave itself, with the form, or with other forms, and feeling the sense of enjoyment. I am the seer, others are the seen. Oh, it's so beautiful, it gives me so much joy. Thus, the Paramatma gets identified with so many names and forms, although it is one. Without Viveka discrimination, one is unable to separate it from the names and forms. How do you differentiate it? What is Viveka? Definition of Vivek? What is discrimination? Differentiation is not this thought versus that thought. Discrimination is not gross versus subtle versus causal. Discrimination is between the truth and the untruth, reality and non-reality. Reality is permanent, non-reality or untruth is changing. So find out, and you can only find out when you make it subjective. Find out what is changing. Right now we don't know what the subject is. To come to it, we start analyzing what is changing. Time is changing, objects are changing, world is changing, body is changing. Once we have worked out the world that it is changing, automatically something will click that hey, no point, that is not me. Then why am I living at the worldly level? Then the next stage will be Mithyatma. Body is changing, breath is changing, emotions are changing, thoughts are changing, convictions are changing. Then slowly you will wean from gross to subtle. Then when you come to a certain critical point, then it will dawn. Then what is the unchanging principle? Am I changing or am I unchanging? Oh, but I have never felt myself change. I never felt my absence. I felt the absence of young body or youthful body, now it is old body. I felt the absence of the in-breath and the out-breath. It's changing all the time. Emotions are coming and going. But I never feel that I am coming and going. Wakers, dreamers and deep sleepers are coming and going. But I don't have the feeling. I was there yesterday also, in spite of waker, dreamer and deep sleeper. Today also I am. So nobody has the experience of their own absence. So when the discrimination is done, discrimination is not about this book and that book, what this master says and that master says, what this philosophy and that philosophy is. That is not discrimination. Discrimination is Atma, Anatma, Vivek. Discrimination is differentiating what is the unchanging principle and what is continuously changing. And it has to be done subjectively. And you will automatically, if you are sincere to the exercise, do it before you go to sleep. Best. And get up in the morning and do it again. 2 times is enough. Before going to sleep, who am I? What is changing? What is unchanging? Yes, let it play the game. Don't be too serious. Oh my God, I can't remember what else. No. Just joyfully. What is changing? Array, the air is changing. Array, the fan is moving. Array, the light is coming on and off. Array, the sun is coming up and down. Array, the earth is rotating. Array, play. Slowly. Automatically it will start, you will start going, closer to yourself. Tad viveke tu na ubhayam. When one is able to discriminate between these two forms of expressions of one being, although through the Vyatireka Abhyas means not this, not this, not this. So you are saying, I am not the changing, I am the unchanging. I am not the gross body, I am the unchanging principle. I am not the changing breath, I am the unchanging because I am observing it. The mind is changing, I am the unchanging. The intellect is changing, I am the unchanging principle. Or you call it the X factor, whatever way. So when we come to the Atma in this manner, separate from here and then this way, when we come back to this and separate myself, the I from the world of plurality, then through Anvaya Abhyas, as the second step, one understands that the same is knower in one place and the known in other. So what I told you before, you cannot, while living in the world, you cannot come to know this. But if you come to establish yourself as the source by through discrimination, you come to this Atmic Tattva. The moment you come to this Atmic principle, that very moment, first you excluded everything in order to come to this. Now, from his point, from this fellow, the Paramatma's point, you start, the vision is of all inclusiveness. The wave has to give up its identification with other waves, Garunatma. Then it has to give up identification with its form, Mithyatma. Then it must focus on the water as I, Mukhyatma. And when it's from its mind that I am a wave completely gets dissolved away, because just like in deep sleep, that I am a body gets dissolved. In your mind it gets dissolved, the mind gets dissolved, and you are the water now. As the water, what will be your vision? Of all inclusiveness, if you could speak, because other than the water there is nothing else. There is no perception of duality anymore. There is no perception of other waves. Why? All that there is the water, isn't it? Same thing happens with the self also. First we separate ourselves from all this and recognize that we are the Atma. Then from the Atmic point, then this also I am, this also I am, this also I am, this also I am. Not only all this, I am everything that there is. We are putting words to that. If the Paramatma could speak. And that is the beauty of our religion, of our culture, Sanatana Dharma, to put those words. The Ishvara has been brought, the various gods have been brought. So they are that infinite Paramatma himself is speaking in that language. So from this point, Paramatma's point of view, the knower also is the Paramatma and the known also is the Paramatma. The enjoyer is also the Paramatma, the enjoyed also is the Paramatma. The experiencer also is the Paramatma, experienced is also the Paramatma. So from Paramatma point of view, this is Paramatma. The I thought is also Paramatma, and the that thought also is Paramatma. Aham vritti and idam vritti. It is the same spark which has gone and become two. But where are we lost? We are into this versus that. And who are we really? This one. We are lost in this only. The same is knower in one place and the known in another. And neither is real. Both of these fellows are unreal. But the one that is the reality, but the one, this is the reality. The undifferentiated essence is the truth. Undifferentiated essence. Even though so many differences are there in the body, but we call it one body. When we use the word body, we don't automatically all the limbs are included in it, isn't it? We don't feel I have to call every limb and then I will be complete body, isn't it? When we say mind, in the word mind, all the thoughts and emotions are automatically included, isn't it? Or do we go collecting all the thoughts? Acha, 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 this is also in my, this also makes up my mind, this also makes up my mind, this also makes up. No. The word mind means all the thoughts, isn't it? Exactly the same way. The word self, the Paramatma, means all the I thoughts, meaning the doer, the enjoyer, the experiencer, the knower, the seer, the hearer, the toucher, the feeler, the thinker, and all the thought, felt, seen, heard, etc., etc., etc. Everything is that Paramatma alone. How beautiful. And that's our true nature. But we are lost. Tu मैं. How the Nama Roop and the enjoyer are not possible in the self is explained in the following shloka. I have already explained quite a bit how names and forms are not possible in the reality. How the enjoyer or the speaker or the knower or the experiencer, they are not present in the reality. That is being told. भोग्यमिच्छन् भोक्तृरर्थे भोग्यमिच्छन् भोक्तृरर्थे शरीरमनुसंज्वरेत् शरीरमनुसंज्वरेत् ज्वराश्रिषु शरीरेषु ज्वराश्रिषु शरीरेषु स्थितानत्वात्मनो ज्वराः स्थानस्वात्मनो ज्वराः. He says, the jiva desiring objects of enjoyment for the purpose of the enjoyer gets worked up and suffers after the body due to his identification. In fact, the sufferings belong to the three bodies and they are never the lot of the self. Who suffers? The Gaunatma suffers. Who suffers? The Mithyatma suffers. Does the Mukhyatma suffer? No. Then who are Mithyatma and Gaunatma? That Mukhyatma, which is the Paramatma in this particular case, example, or in this chapter, identified with the three bodies is called as Mithyatma. Identified with the objects is called Gaunatma. So who suffers? Gaunatma suffers and Mithyatma suffers. The one who is identified with the body, the three bodies, or the one who is identified with the names and forms, this fellow suffers. You are the Paramatma, suffering not possible. Causal body. So gross body, subtle body and causal body. Gross body, waking state, causal body, subtle body, dream state, and causal body, deep sleep state at a large level. There are many different ways how you can look at the whole thing. Gross body means this body, subtle body means breath, mind and intellect, and causal body means the Anandamaya Kosh, the causal state. So the subtle body has come out of the causal body and the gross body has come out of the subtle body. But our experience is different. We think the mind is inside. It's not that way. This phenomena, where has it come from? This phenomena of gross and subtle, where has it come from? It has come from causal. Causal ka naam, meaning its cause, it is the cause. And what is the causal state? The deep sleep state is the causal state. Anandamaya kosh. That is where we get the maximum joy. But it is not Atma. In that chapter we saw no before about this whole analysis of deep sleep. Which verse we are on? Ah. For the sake of this enjoyer or jiva, desiring many objects, one gets unnecessarily attached to the three bodies. So either you are attached to, how do you get attached to the three bodies? Gross, subtle and causal. If you are desiring sleep, you are identified with causal body. If you are desiring imaginations, fantasies, I wish I get that job, or I wish I was traveling, subtle body. Fantasizing. And last is the gross body, desiring food, satisfying the body, khatam ho gaya. Good bed, good clothes, gross body. The partner in life, for gross body. If one is in healthy condition, the anxiety is that it should last. If one is in ill health, then the anxiety is that it should not end. It should end. So is true when the state of the mind that peace and happiness should be forever and that unhappiness should never happen. So some people say, this question they ask. Why we have to search for happiness? Of course you don't have to. You are happy. No, but then why you are telling us? Why the scriptures are saying? They ask this question because they have not analyzed their life. Whatever you are doing in life every day, here, that is what is told here. That when we are in healthy condition, when everything is going hunky-dory, we want it to continue. But does it continue ever? Never. Then when things are not going our way, then what is our wish and desire? That it should go away straight away, isn't it? But both ways. See, yoga kshema. Yoga means wanting what you don't have. And kshema means protecting what you already have. For these two, we are caught up in this whole life. This is the chakra. And the Lord says, if you put your mind and intellect, surrender it to me, I will take care of everything that you need or desire and everything that you need to protect. I will take care. Because He wants you. The Lord wants you. He wants your attention. This Paramatma also, unknowingly we want that only. We want to be permanently happy. But for that we have to come out of this anxiety which is born out of identification. Identification leads to desire. Desire leads to anger or greed. In anger, you lose the plot. In greed, you cannot satisfy. Eventually, it will lead to anger again. See? So it is true with the state of the mind that peace and happiness should be forever and that unhappiness should never happen. So just like we want continuous health and we don't want disease or ill health, similarly the mind wants continuous happiness and it does not want misery in its experience. This is the program that we all have come with. It's not a question of Why the scriptures are saying this, why you people again and again say that we have to search for happiness. That is, you are doing that already. Have you achieved it? Have you been successful? Scriptures are only mirrors to what is going on in your life, and they're putting it in the right context and presenting it to you. Nothing that has been told is not your experience.
She's stuck in a cupboard.
She's not caught up in the cupboard. She's just scratching the box. Natu Atmanaha. The pure self has never suffered any of these diseases. The bodies alone suffer the modification, not the embodied. So, where is the change? Where is the disease? Where is the depression? Where is the aspiration? Where is the ambition? Where is the joy? Where is the identification? Where is the disidentification? It's all in gross body, subtle body, causal body. Nothing to do with the Atma. The waker, dreamer, and deep sleeper, they keep coming and going. But where do they appear? They appear in they are expressions of the mind. It has got nothing to do with the self.
ये ग्रॉस सटल कॉजल बॉडी को इंग्लिश में क्या हिंदी में क्या बोलते हैं?
स्थूल शरीर, सूक्ष्म शरीर, कारण शरीर.
तो ये जो मुख्य गौण आत्मा, मिथ्या आत्मा और मुख्य आत्मा है
वो इसके साथ कुछ नहीं है. परमात्मा आइडेंटिफाइड विद स्थूल शरीर, सूक्ष्म शरीर, कारण शरीर is called an individual, is called a mithyatma. Because what is mithyatma? Consciousness identified with body, breath, mind, intellect, isn't it? So another, this is your probably body, breath, mind, intellect plus the Anandamaya Kosh. These are Annamaya Kosh, Pranamaya Kosh, Manomaya Kosh, Vijnanmaya Kosh and Anandamaya Kosh. These are 5 koshas, 5 sheaths. Another way of categorizing them is Sthula Sharir, Sukshma Sharir and Karan Sharir. Paramatma identified with these, either you call it as 5 or you call it as 3, he is called Mithyatma. And this Mithyatma, then identified with names and forms, is called Gaunatma. Mukhyatma is independent. It has got nothing to get identified with.
That is Paramatma.
The Mukhyatma is Paramatma. Mukhyatma, here in that example of Mukhyatma means you are the self. But the more you remain in the self, as the self, then all inclusiveness will start happening. It doesn't happen straight away. Because the purification, the more you first, according to the Kundalini Shastra, in the Anahat Chakra, the first clarity comes that I am the conscious principle and the matter is separate to me. Now, the more you remain focused on the conscious principle as the conscious principle, now the whole rest of the journey of inclusivity, that will happen. It doesn't happen straight away. For some it may happen. They are different. Otherwise, all these masters, why do they meditate for so long?
So gross, subtle and casual is
Not casual, causal.
Causal is part of Mithyatma.
Not part of your
It
wrong.
makes it comprises of Mithya. Mithyatma comprises of these three bodies.
Mithyatma also, Paramatma identified with these three
Becomes
is called as
Mithyatma.
Mithyatma,
And Mithyatma identified with names and forms is Gauna.
is Gaunatma. Understand? Because Paramatma doesn't need to identify with anything, he is all that there is.
Yep, yep.
From Paramatma's point of view, there is no five bodies and there is no names and forms also.
Yep. Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah? So we'll leave it here and we'll start from the 9th verse next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Just sit quietly for a minute or two.